The champagne was already pouring when Marcus Dion stepped into the light and called his mistress the future of his life. 300 people clapped. His new title glowed on the screen behind him. Nobody in that ballroom knew the quiet woman near the back doors had signed every check that paid for the party. Her name was Adise Coleman, and she had worn the same gray blazer to that building for 6 years.
Excuse me,
To
I'll
the
be right
staff,
back.
she was the woman from facilities who fixed the badge readers and never said much. Nobody asked why a facilities worker always had a seat reserved near the exit. Nobody asked because nobody looked. Hello, friends. Welcome to Black Bite Stories. Before we begin today's story, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? We love hearing from our global family. This was the night Titanvale Holdings promoted Marcus to Senior Vice President of Operations. He had married Adise 8 years earlier, back when he was proud to hold her hand in public. Somewhere along the way, pride turned into embarrassment, and embarrassment turned into a woman named Jasmine Rowe, 29, ambitious, and hungry for a stage of her own. Marcus stood under the gold lights in a suit tailored close to his shoulders. He thanked the board. He thanked his mother, seated proud in the second row in a wide-brimmed hat. Then he reached out his hand and pulled Jasmine forward, and the room leaned in the way a room leans when it senses a scandal wrapped in silk. "I want you all to meet someone," he said, smiling the smile that had gotten him out of every hard conversation his whole life. Jasmine Rowe. My future. The room applauded on cue. Somewhere behind them, near the catering table, his sister Denise pressed her napkin to her mouth and did not clap at all. Adise did not flinch. She stood with her hands folded, watching the man she had married stand in a room she owned and call another woman the future in front of everyone who worked for her. She had known this moment might come for months. She simply had not expected it to hurt exactly this quietly. Her mother-in-law, Yvonne, turned in her seat to catch the eyes of the women around her. "Finally," Yvonne said loud enough to carry, "a woman who knows how to stand next to a man like that." A few people laughed the ugly, easy laugh people give when someone powerful gives them permission to be cruel. Jasmine found Adise's eyes across the room and held them for one long second, then looked away like she was looking past a piece of furniture. She had spent 5 months convincing Marcus that his wife was dead weight. A woman with no ambition, no vision, nothing worth keeping. She had learned every detail of that story from Marcus himself, and she believed every word. Adise pressed her thumb against the strap of her small bag, feeling the outline of the object resting inside it. It was a slim silver pen that had belonged to her father, Otis Coleman, a man who ran a small accounting office out of a strip mall in southeast Atlanta for 30 years. She had carried that pen every single day since the morning they buried him. Near the double doors, a broad-shouldered man in a dark suit straightened his posture the moment Adise shifted her weight, as though a signal only he could hear had gone off somewhere in the building. His name was Desmond, and he had worked security for Titanvale for 9 years. Long enough to know exactly whose instructions actually ran the place. A young server crossing behind her with a tray of empty glasses lowered his voice as he passed. "Evening, Miss Coleman," he said, careful and low, the kind of respect that would have looked strange to anyone paying attention. Nobody was paying attention. Every eye in that ballroom belonged to the man and woman standing under the gold light. Marcus lifted his glass one final time before the formal award was read. "To new beginnings," he said, and he kissed Jasmine slowly, deliberately, for the benefit of every phone camera raised around the room. Adise turned toward the hallway that ran behind the stage. She was not running. She had somewhere to be, and it was not yet in that light. Every person clapping in that ballroom worked for a company they thought they understood completely. Within the hour, they would learn exactly whose hand had been steadying it the whole time. To understand the woman in the gray blazer, you have to go back 20 years, to a small brick office on a cracked strip mall lot where Otis Coleman balanced other people's books by lamplight. He was a patient, exacting man who wore reading glasses on a cord and never once raised his voice at a client no matter how far behind they'd fallen. Adaze grew up in that office, breathing the smell of paper and cheap coffee. She was the kind of child who counted the register twice just to be sure, the kind who noticed when a number was $1 off and could not rest until she found it. Her father called her his sharpest set of eyes, and he meant it as the highest compliment he had. There was a hard year when a bigger firm opened 3 blocks away with software that could do in a minute what Otis did in an hour. Clients drifted. The lights in the office stayed on later and later while the money coming in got thinner and thinner. Adaze was 16 the night she found her father at his desk staring at a ledger full of red ink and saying nothing at all. He took the silver pen from his shirt pocket and set it gently in her palm. "A number never lies to you, baby," he told her. "People will lie. Rooms full of people will lie to your face and smile while they do it. But if you learn to read the truth underneath the noise, nobody can ever make you small again." She held that pen like it might crack in her hand. He passed 2 years later, quiet in his sleep, the office closing not long after. Adaze finished high school working nights at a call center and studying finance textbooks by the light of her phone. She never had a headline moment, never had someone hand her an opportunity. She built one meticulous spreadsheet, one overlooked contract, one impossible audit at a time. It took 14 years, and it started with a single distressed logistics contract that 3 larger firms had already walked away from as a lost cause. Adaze read every clause the bigger firms hadn't bothered reading twice. She found value hiding inside the numbers everyone else had given up on, and she turned that one contract into a foothold, then a portfolio, then a company. That company became Titan Vale Holdings. By the night of Marcus's promotion, the business she had quietly built from a single salvaged contract met payroll for more than 600 families every month. She had done all of it without a single photograph in a trade magazine, without her name ever once appearing on the building directory in the lobby downstairs. She married Marcus in the middle of building all of it, back when he still looked at her like she mattered more than any room they walked into. She never told him the scale of what she was building, not out of deceit, but out of an old fear planted the day her father lost his shop, the fear that the moment people learn what you have, they stop seeing who you are. By the last year of their marriage, Marcus had stopped pretending to be content. He had grown up the cousin with the smallest plate at every family gathering, the boy whose shoes were always a size too small, and somewhere in all that old shame he had decided a man is only as large as the room believes him to be. A wife who vanished into unexplained work made him feel invisible in a way he could not forgive. Jasmine made him feel enormous, and she delivered that feeling with practiced precision. She laughed at the right moments. She told him repeatedly he was wasted on a woman who fixed badge readers for a living. She had grown up in a house where the lights got cut off more than once, and she had made a hard, frightened calculation that Marcus's rise was the closest thing to solid ground she was likely to find. Together, Marcus and his mother built a story, because a story is how ordinary people talk themselves into cruelty. In their version, Adaze was hiding something shameful, disappearing at strange hours for reasons that could not be innocent. Yvonne had never approved of her son marrying a girl from a strip mall accounting office, and the story gave her permission to finally say so out loud. There was a night Marcus laid a document on their kitchen table and slid it toward her with 2 fingers, a cheap pen resting on top. It was the deed to their house, and he wanted her name removed from it. For protection, he said, holding her hand while he said it. He wanted her smaller in every way the law could see, certain a woman like her had nothing left to fight with. She almost signed it. That is the part that should tell you how deep the wound had gone. A woman who quietly held the payroll behind 600 families sat at her own table and nearly signed away her own home, because some tired 16-year-old part of her had started believing the story he told about her being nothing at all. She did not sign it that night. Then came the Thursday she came home early and heard his voice through the study door, warmer than it had been with her in over a year, telling Jasmine that once the promotion was official, he'd be done with his wife for good, that she had nothing without him, that she could keep fixing badge readers while he finally lived the life he deserved. Adaze stood in the hallway of her own home and felt the floor go soft beneath her. She did not slam the door or scream his name. She walked into the kitchen, sat down on the cold tile, and let her bag fall open beside her father's silver pen rolling free and coming to rest against the leg of a chair. If you have ever been made to feel small by the very person who owed you everything, you already know the sound of that kitchen. There was no crying in it, only the hum of the refrigerator and a woman going numb in the one place on earth she had believed was safe. She sat there long enough for the window to slide from gold to gray to dark. Underneath that hum, she heard her father's voice from 20 years back. The line about numbers never lying and rooms full of people smiling while they do. Slowly, on that floor, she reached out and closed her fingers around the pen one at a time, the same way she had at 16, and something in her chest moved from broken toward still. Still was far more dangerous for the people who had done this to her, because still is where the real decisions get made. She stood up off that floor, wiped the pen clean on her sleeve, and made a single phone call, arranging one seat in the front row of the promotion ceremony and one quiet word with the technician who ran the ballroom screens. The night of the ceremony, Adaze did not stand at the back the way she had for 6 quiet years. She walked in through the main doors in a deep navy dress, plain but cut like a decision, and took a seat in the front row where the family sat, directly beneath the light. Yvonne's mouth pinched tight the moment she saw her. Marcus did not notice his wife until he was already speaking. When he found her seated there in the front row, his easy smile flickered once and then hardened. Fine, he told himself. Let her watch. Let her see exactly what she had thrown away by being so quiet all those years. Everybody, he said, pulling Jasmine against his side. Let me introduce the future Mrs. Dayan. The room made the soft, thrilled sound a crowd makes when it believes it is witnessing a love story bloom. Yvonne rose halfway from her seat, glass raised. Denise, caught between the applause and the sickness rising in her stomach, let a small, helpless smile pull at her mouth because she did not know what else to do with her face. Adaze did not stand. She lifted one hand slightly off her lap, a small, calm motion, the kind you use to signal a waiter. At the back of the room, Desmond touched his ear and spoke one word into it. The wide screen behind Marcus came alive, not with the company logo, but with her face, live from a camera near the front row, thrown 20 feet across the glass. White letters wrote themselves beneath the image, one line at a time, a word from the founder. Then, smaller and final, the words none of them had ever seen spelled out, owner and chief executive. Titan Vale Holdings. The room did not gasp all at once. It came in a wave, rolling front to back as 300 people did the math together. Marcus turned toward the enormous image of his wife projected above his own head. His mouth opened and no sound came out. Jasmine stepped back from him without being told, some instinct in her already understanding the ground had shifted beneath her heels. Adaze rose then, unhurried, and the whole room's silence parted to let her pass. She climbed the steps, took the microphone gently from her husband's slack hand, and turned to face the people who worked for her. "Good evening," she said, her voice level, not shaking at all. "Every promotion given in this building tonight, I approved. Every raise, every title, including his." A single breath, especially his. She turned to Marcus and spoke quietly, close enough that only the microphone caught it, and in that silent room every soul heard anyway. "You told her I had nothing without you. Marcus, I built the thing you're standing on." He scrambled for words, reaching for her hand, and she stepped back before he could touch her. She drew her father's silver pen from her bag and uncapped it. For 1 second her hand trembled, because she understood better than anyone alive exactly what that pen had been given to her for. It had been meant to lift people up, never to bring one down. She pressed it to the folded page anyway. It was not his promotion she signed. It was the termination letter her legal team had drafted that morning, ending his employment effective immediately. Her real name thrown 20 feet tall across the glass for every employee in that room to read slowly and completely. She capped the pen. The shaking in her hand was gone. You wanted to be a big man in a big room, she said. So look around you. Right now, you are the smallest thing in it. She did not smile when she said it. There was no triumph on her face, only the quiet cost of a woman who had just closed the softest chapter of her own heart for good. In the weeks after, Marcus learned that a public fall never stays inside one building. Old contacts stopped answering his calls. Within a month, Jasmine packed her things and transferred across town without goodbye. Her fear had never loved him. It had only used him as protection from the poverty she once knew. Denise chose a different path. At a tense family dinner, she stood and told everyone the truth. Her brother had lied, her mother had helped build that lie, and a daisy had been worth more than everyone at the table combined. Though it cost her dearly, she went to Adaze's door. Adaze let her in. Adaze refused to chase Yvonne's version of events. Instead, she focused on what she had always wanted to build. She bought back her father's old office and reopened it as a free training center for neighborhood youth, teaching them business, contracts, and financial skills. One 14-year-old boy arrived angry and lost. When Adaze helped him balance his first ledger, his entire face changed. She knew then her father's legacy had found a new purpose. Her worth had never depended on their applause. The people who tried to make her feel small were standing on ground she had helped build. Adaze finally looked down and recognized it.